Why we called the competition the Space-Time Concerto Competition was because we were looking at what happens in a performance of music in a space when the audience and the performers are either in the same space together, or in the case of the telematic side of it, where the audiences and performers are spaced out across the world. So space-time means how does a sound exist in time and a space? So the telematic side of it is looking at musicians around the world performing to a conductor over the internet.
In the space-time competition, we used a combination of different types of technologies. They included open source technologies as well as technologies that are commercially available as a product. Some of these were software technologies, such as the use of Jack. We used Jack Trip specifically for low latency audio, and then other forms of technology we used, such as Polycom video conferencing products, which are hardware devices for video. By using a combination of the various different forms of technologies of open source hardware and software, we were able to give the audience perception that we were working with no latency for music performance.
Latency is the problem of delay in a performance of music. Every piece of music has latency. As I'm talking, there's latency because it takes time for the sound of my voice to reach the ears of the other person. However, the further the distance between people, the longer the latency. So obviously in an orchestra, there's latency because the people at the back of the orchestra it takes time for their sound to be heard at the front. That's inherent in any performance. With the internet, it's much slower because the sound has to travel around the world at the speed of light, and it gets slowed down by certain technologies and passes. So we sometimes have a situation with the telematic side of things where the latency could be up to 2 seconds.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's a second delay. My God.
So Absense fitted perfectly for this latency problem, in the sense that we had musicians around the world performing whose presence was being acknowledged by not being there. So our problem was we had musicians in Beijing, in Linz, in Singapore and Newcastle having to work together to a common beat, and we did that by having a conductor who conducted without hearing anything, and then other conductors in each location conducting to the video. And Absense explored 2 approaches to time. One was using a beat, and another part which was what they call non-metrical, where there was no sense of meter or beat. And the challenge of the work was to put those 2 together.